going on, Nissan Nation? It's your buddy Dave of the Nissan Nation podcast, and I get more questions about this thing. They'll see it in the background of the videos I do than anything else. And it's very amazing to me because this is my old beater. This is my 2000 Nissan Xterra. It's a Gen 1, little 3.3 liter V6 engine. It's got like 160 horsepower in it, just not enough horsepower for what these were. But this one's seen more trails than I think it's seen highways anymore. It's my kind of my go-to. I love this thing. It doesn't get on the trails as much as I'd like it to, but you know, when you start heavily modifying these things, sometimes you find that they're in the driveway more than they're on the trails, and that's been the case with this one. And it's not been for lack of just things breaking on it. So let's get into why. So I bought this thing in 2011, and we'll give you a little before and after. So before this, I had a 2001 white Nissan Xterra. I named it Turk. I love that thing. The recession hits, I lost that vehicle, and I bought a Jeep. I did. Sorry guys, I bought a YJ, 1989 Jeep and Wrangler, and that thing was okay. It was fun to have the top off, but after that, the thing was a pain in the butt. So I was like, I've got to get back to what at the time I considered the Cadillac of off-roading, because the suspension on this versus the YJ, where it had the dual leaf springs front and rear, was just, that thing would beat the crap out of you. And I talked to a buddy one time. I was like, how are these so popular? Because this thing just beats the crap out of you on the trails. So I went and bought this thing. This thing was showroom new when I bought this thing. The guy took like care of it, had it detailed once a week. He just loved the thing. But guess what? He put an ad up on Craigslist. I think he wanted like $4,200 for this thing in 2011, which wasn't a bad deal at the time, but it had high miles. When I bought this, it had 200,000 miles on it. That's a lot for this motor. Especially not knowing if the timing belt and water pump had been changed in this. But the way the guy had the truck detailed all the time, I was pretty confident that it was being serviced properly. So I called him up. We met. I think I offered him like $3,600 on the thing. He jumped on it because he had just bought a Jeep. It was the irony that I just got rid of a Jeep to get this thing. He bought a Jeep to get rid of this thing. So it's kind of strange, but it is what it is. So I took this thing, had all kinds of fun. Once again, it used to have a real bright, shiny paint job on the thing. It looked amazing. And over the years, just beat the crap out of the paint, just going through woods. And if you ever get a chance to wheel with my buddy Luke of Lifestyle Offroad, he's going to take you down trails that just pinstripe the crap out of your vehicle, man. Luke is he's a trail warrior out there and has fun. So I just got tired of upgrading stock suspension all the time. I mean, it was lifted. We put a 2-inch body lift on this thing. It had an 1.5 inch poor man's lift on it. And I had plenty of fun, but I just got tired of every time I go out and the challenges, I was ramping up everything. And I just got tired of replacing stuff. So I decided I'm going to SAS this thing. And what that means is straight axle swap. So I took an axle out of a 1989, I believe, Jeep Grand Wagoneer on this one. The Dana 44 under this thing, and we ripped out all the independent front suspension. I got a Calmini kit, which I don't recommend Calmini, but if you want to SAS these things, it's one of the easiest ways to do it out there. It's pricey, but it's one of the easiest ways to do it. I bought the Calmini kit from a buddy's mine over at P&P Engineering, had a kit, and they weren't doing anything with it, so they sold it to me. And on my own, it took me about 1.5 years to do, just because I started sassing this thing without a kit. And I was going to do my own deal on it. And just the idea of putting my daughter and my wife and stuff in this thing on something that I designed, I was like, let's time out. Just time out. We're going to go with something tried and true. So I went with the Calmini kit. And it was pretty simple. I have to admit, the hardest part about it was I didn't have instructions with it because I bought the kit used. So I made a mistake and put the shock towers on at a bad angle, called Calmini. Luckily enough, I sent them some pictures of what I did, and I told them, hey, this truck's going to be in an event in a couple weeks. And beyond belief, they were actually quick about getting me the parts. And I want to say thanks to John and those guys over there. They actually were. They've never treated me bad, though. Their reputation online is what it is. But so we put the Calmini kit under it. I had coils under it. I just wasn't happy with them. So my buddy Nestor was like, dude, I'm running air shocks on mine. I was like, what? You're running air shocks? He's like, yeah. He goes, run air shocks on this thing. He's like, I daily drive my vehicle with air shocks and it runs great. So I did it, and we took it out on the trails and went Windrock and had a good time in this thing. Now, like I said, it doesn't get to be on the trails as much as I want. For one, I need to get a trailer for it. because there's no way I want to ride this thing all the way the 250 miles to Windrock every time I want to wheel it. It drives fine. It's just, I don't know. It's not like having a factory fresh vehicle by any means. But that, and it's got, now I think I'm at about 260,000 miles on this thing, because I did daily it for a while. But let's walk around this thing and I'll point some things out to you. First off, I bedlined this thing, and I did it poorly. I've changed the color on this truck because this is my beater. I roughed up the paint on it one time, and it was painted khaki. It looked cool. Got bored with that. Decided I'm going to bedline this thing. Started sanding the hatch on it, and just bought can bedliner. Because for one, it's my beater. I didn't really like. At the end of the day, it wasn't going to be a showroom car. I'm proud of this thing and all the fun I've had in it. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. And so as you can see, there's bedliner all over this thing. Is it perfect? No, by no means, because I did some spray paint, or the spray can bedliner on it. I've actually done some roller bedliner on it. And about 2 years ago, I went back over it with another thing of spray paint bedliner. Why? Because I just don't care. I mean, I love this thing. I love this thing, and one day it'll disappear and I'll be sad about it. But I've had a lot of fun adventures in this thing. But let's look at it. Once again, I put Fox air shocks. These are a 12-inch air shock under it. There's no spring to this at all. The air shock is the spring. It's sitting a little low right now, but once you start moving it, it heats up the fluid in it, and it pumps it up. I'm not a rocket scientist by any means, so I don't know exactly the how and why. Works great. I'm normally a BF Goodrich guy, but first and foremost, I'm a cheap guy, and I like to get deals on things. That's why I am. If you put thousands of dollars in your vehicle, at some point, if you're not cheap, you've got a lot more money than I do. So a neighbor down the road had a deal on these 35s. He was pulling them off his Jeep, and he was like, "Hey man, my Jeep has 15s." He had a JKU, and he had 15s on it. And I guess at some point, I'm not a Jeep guy, but at some point they did actually put 15s on that. And so I had 15-inch rims on this thing, and I was like, I had 33s on it. Looked okay. Kind of looked tiny once I sassed it, but boom, 35s. These are Wranglers, Goodyear Wranglers, the Kevlar series. They've been great on the trails. I've only had them out a couple times, but they really dig. I'm a BF Goodrich guy, but I cannot complain about these tires. I think I got 4 of them for, what was it, like $700, something silly cheap. Freaking amazing. I really do like them. Once again, we went with the white knuckle rock sliders on our 2000 Xterra. These actually, because I haven't got to run this truck as much as I want, they still look almost basically brand new. The powder coating that they use, I don't know anything about powder coating, but I do know that I've bashed the crap out of Kelly's Xterra. She's bashed the crap out of her rock sliders. She's marked them up, but they just don't chip. Whatever they do bonds so well to these things. These are a DOM metal, which is a lot tougher, a lot thicker. These guys, I can't say enough good things about white knuckle. Their shipping is fast. Any communications, if you ever have a question about your order, they are right on it, man. They super impressed with that company, and they do a great job. I have lift shackles on these things. These are from Automotive Customizers. If you do 4x4parts.com, I believe it is, you can order some lift shackles. These have been on there. I've had 2 sets of these. These they're painted ugly orange right now, faded orange, whatever. Work out great. They do what they're supposed to do. In the back of this thing, you can see the skid row. I used to have a full set of skid row plates under the bottom of them, skid plates. But when you sass it, they're no longer in any count. So I did keep the gas skid plate because there's always a chance you can bash your gas tank. Which, if you're looking for a skid, I would go gas tank foremost. Like, I know skids are expensive, and sometimes you get deals on sets of them. But if you're budget conscious, I would go and just get the gas first off, and then worry about the rest later. Because once you dent up a gas can, your levels will never read right, and you can always puncture it, and then you're stuck out on the trails. I used to get a lot of questions about this bumper, and I used to have it wrapping around, and the reason I did the wraparound on it was because I didn't want to blow a side window, so I had them sticking out past the body a little bit in case I ever slid into a tree, because I have seen a bunch of Xterras, for whatever reason, slide into a tree, pop the side window, and then it's got to be replaced. But I kind of chopped them off on this. Once I sassed it and bedlined it, it was like, what do I care anymore? You can go get a junkyard blender pretty easy. This thing, I don't even remember the metal I built this out of. I built it with a buddy of mine. He taught me how to weld. We went through this and built it. This mother effer is heavy duty, I can tell you that. It was amazing. As soon as I put this thing on the back of my vehicle, it was amazing how cars that used to tailgate you would suddenly not tailgate you. Other than that, you know, it's bedlined poorly, and you gotta represent, right? Nissan Nation Podcast, got all of our gear on there, and we've got more gear coming. Keep an eye out on our website, nissannationpodcast.com. But that's basically the rear of our Xterra. Welcome to the front of this beast. Brand new grill, even though you can't tell, it's dirty as can be. I don't wash this thing too much. I actually washed it for this video, but other than that, I really don't. It is what it is. Old janky thing is just, it is what it is, man. I love this. On my white one, I had this all matching, looked great. I think this on my old grill was black. I painted it black, whatever. It's a beater anymore. As long as it's got functional lights on it and stuff, I really don't care. I used to have an RLC weld fab bumper on this thing, and it was amazing. Number 2, the second one he ever built, really the first one he ever sold, he did a prototype. Love that thing. My girl Carrie Beasley's got that on her Xterra now. I sold it to help fund some parts on this thing. Sort of regret selling it. Carrie, if you got it, enjoy it. But I did this years ago on my white Xterra. I cut the factory plastics like this, kind of made it kind of look a little off-roady. Put some, I used to have some round lights on that one. I put these LED pods on there. They're not even hooked up right now. It's been winter. I've got a lot of projects to get to, so I'm like, the wiring's all there. I just need to literally do it. But it's the front of it. Once again, so I did add some wide body fenders to this thing, and you're like, Dave, it's a rock crawler stuff. Why did you do it? I don't know. I got a deal on these. P&P once again. Seems like this truck was built by P&P, but they had some. They pulled off a project they were working on, and I was like, dude, make me an offer on them. Or he said, make me an offer on them. Made him an offer. He sold them to me. They're fiberglass. They look really cool, and I do like the way they flare out over the 35-inch tires. But they really serve no purpose for what I do, and I could have got away with the factory ones still on there. But at the end of the day, we mod things just because sometimes we get bored, and I think this was a boredom purchase that I did. But once again, I do like the way the kind of fat styling. I wish they would have made a fender for this, a matching fender for the Xterras. I don't think they ever did, but the company slips in the line at the moment. But they were out of California, and I think they still make Gen 2 Frontier stuff. They look really good. You can see the old color of them on there. I'll get my spray paint out, my can of spray bed liner, and I'll fix that up. So there you have it, guys. That was my 2000 Nissan Xterra. If you like this content, like and subscribe to what we do. It does mean a lot. A lot of the projects, like our Project Juke that we're working on right now, is strictly funded because you guys watch this stuff on YouTube, man. So shout out for everybody that is watching our YouTube channel. If you haven't yet, like and subscribe what we do. We're trying to bring all kinds of Nissan related content, whether it be breaking news or builds like this old thing, or our 2009 Xterra, or our Nissan Titan, or the new Juke we just picked up. It is all basically funded because of YouTube, and I want to say thank you to the guys for liking that. Please, if you do, share it to wherever you like Nissan content from. We're basically the only one doing just Nissan content. But from all things Nissan here in my driveway to yours, this has been our kind of walk around of our 2000 Nissan Xterra sassed. Peace.